Hello and welcome to Jim's Workshop. This will be part 2 of a video series on the Stuart Model S50 steam engine. We'll call this one Taking It Apart. So there we have it. No major surprises on anything I found taking this apart. The crank is maybe a little bit worse than I was expecting it to be. It looks like they couldn't really figure out where to put the holes and flats for the eccentric and the crank or the flywheel. So this is definitely going to have to remake it kind of piece. I may change up the design a little bit on this crank disc. I've seen them where they're completely round or where they're more cutaway. Instead of the tapered angles, more of a flat with a counterweight on the backside. Remains to be seen what I end up actually doing, but I will be definitely remaking this piece for sure based on what I'm seeing here. Let's go ahead and inspect some of these other parts to see what kind of shape they're in and what kind of work I'm going to have to do to them. For the most part, all of these small parts on the engine are in good shape and they are within specifications of the plans. The piston there is about 20 thousandths undersized, which I expected, so that will have to be remade. And the rest of them, I think, just need to be cleaned up. From what I've measured on all of these, everything is pretty close to the drawings as far as the dimensions and specs go. The flywheel is very nice. The paint is good. Everything else looks really good on it. The dimensions are correct according to the plans. Needs a little bit of polish on the rim. Other than that, it's good to go. We've already looked at the crank disc and crankshaft here. This will have to be remade. There's nothing on this that I like. Okay, this surface on the base, according to the plans, is supposed to be 1.5 inches above the bottom line here. On this engine, it is 1.474, 1.470, 1.478. So it's a little lower than it's supposed to be according to the plans. I don't think we can do anything to correct that, so we'll have to adjust the 20 thousandths or so that it's off on a different part. The surface of the guide rails are supposed to be 21/64 higher than this surface. 21/64 is 0.328. So let's see what we've got here. That one is at 0.344. 0.341. So they are a little bit higher than they should be in relation to this surface. but I don't think it's going to be an issue. The through holes for the crankshaft are approximately 28 thousandths too low down to the bottom. So I think that as long as we're pretty consistent with these holes being too low, this being too low, this being too low, as long as I think we're pretty consistent in how much they are too low, we shouldn't have any issues. Okay, this cylinder casting is the worst looking piece of the engine. The valve chest faces, as you can see, are not a true rectangle. They definitely slope down on the bottom here. You can see that the surface slopes. A little bit more needs to be milled off on this side, on both edges, in order to square that up. The valve chest is the proper dimension this way, a little bit too wide this way. That's not a big problem. The valve chest itself fits very well onto this casting. This hole, which holds the cylinder to the base, is drilled all the way through into the exhaust port there. That's not a big deal. That'll be plugged up by the screw. The exhaust port itself is not drilled and tapped into the top. The bore itself is pretty much dead on 0.0625 that it's supposed to be. These holes that mount the cylinder covers are not drilled where they should be. This hole and this hole should be exactly vertical of each other, and the whole thing is rotated a little bit this way, which means that where you have to drill through to connect the steam chest to the cylinder comes very close to this hole that's drilled and tapped. I may end up plugging and re-drilling and re-tapping all these holes, but due to the other issues that I'm seeing with this, I might just go ahead and order a new cylinder casting from Stuart. We'll have to see how I decide to take care of this problem. The bore itself is good. It's within a half a thousandth of being 0.625 from what I've been able to measure. I went ahead and ordered all new BA taps and dies in high-speed steel from Tracy Tools. So they came through for me, shipped them out in a timely manner. I think it took maybe 10 days between ordering them and receiving them. I also went ahead and got a selection of ME taps and dies from them. So I should be pretty good on new high-speed steel tooling when I go ahead and finish building this Stuart engine and when I start working on my other two Stuart engine kits that I've got here.